Good evening, and thank you for tuning into Intellectual Radio Voices of Change. My name is Janice, and I'll be your host this evening. And next to me is this handsome young man. He is my special guest this evening. His name is Kennery Kent Smith. Welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
I never really met this person before in person. Okay, but I've been knowing him for like a couple years
Right.
because, man, he is a philosopher. I saw that somewhere, and that's a great tag for him because that's what he is. This man posts on social media, and he has so much insight. And I
Thank
think I asked him one time, "Are you a writer?" Because you, his
Before I
posts,
wrote.
his posts are like, anyway,
He's really
he's
awesome.
awesome. But we're not going to start with him. A lot of things going on today. You know how I always start with like a scripture and a little news, and there's a lot of news going on. Then I'll read his bio, which is, whoo, if Elliot was here, he would say, Janice, you're at it again. It's a long one. It's a long one, but he's been doing so much. So let's go, starting with the scripture, because I really want to get into this conversation because this man is a communicator. And everyone knows the hot news today is about Biden.
Yeah.
So I know we're going to touch on that, as well as other things like relationships. And I love guests that bring me gifts. Not only did I get a gift today, but everyone knows I'm like crazy busy. Do you know what this gentleman did? I do a post to kind of promote the show. He created 2 or 3 other posts, and I just use those and just pass them on. So thank you. Thank you so
You're
much,
very
Kennery.
welcome. Absolutely.
The scripture today comes from Romans 12, verses 6 and 8, and it says, first of all, let me preface it by this. The reason why I picked the scripture is because knowing him on social media, you get to kind of know a person. Well, you know a person as well as you can, but that's anyway, a person as well as you can. This man has so many gifts and he shares the gifts. And when I read his bio, you're going to see all those gifts and you'll know exactly what I mean. So the scripture goes like this. We have different gifts according to the grace given to each of us. If your gift is prophesying, then prophesy in accordance with your faith. If it is serving, then serve. If it is teaching, then teach. If it is to encourage, then give encouragement. If it is giving, then give generously. If it is to lead, do it diligently. If it is to show mercy, do it cheerfully. And throughout the couple years that I've known him, I have seen every aspect of the scripture in his writing. So we're going to get to know him a little bit better today. Now let's go with the news snapshots. Let's see what's happening in our news. A postal worker was shot and killed in the West Pullman neighborhood on Friday. Police said the shooting happened around 11:40 a.m. in the 100 block of South Harvard Avenue. The postal worker was in front of a home when an unknown man walked up and shot her, then fled in a vehicle. The woman was taken to Advocate Christ Medical Center with multiple gunshot wounds and was pronounced dead. Her name, she was identified as Octavia Redmond of Chicago. The people in the neighborhood who lived around the neighborhood, they spoke very highly of her. This is such a tragedy. You're hearing about this more often where people are just, I don't know, randomly, they don't know who the cars are, they're randomly shooting. I live across from Columbus Park, and on July 4th, there was a mass shooting.
Really?
There are kids around there, barbecuing or whatever they do. Somebody passed by in a dark car and shot 6 kids. It's happening over and over and over again.
That's terrible.
Here we go. Former President Donald Trump returned to the campaign trail in the battleground state of Michigan days after accepting the Republican nomination for president of the party's convention for the 3rd time. This time, though, Trump was joined by his running mate, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, for the first time at a campaign rally in Grand Rapids, Michigan on Saturday evening. It marks Trump's first rally since his assassination attempt at a rally in Pennsylvania last week. And there's a lot of conversation about that assassination attempt. Was it? Was it not? Anyway.
Who knows?
Now, any of you who had to go downtown or work, or I don't know, it maybe even affected you at home, I'm not sure, but CrowdStrike IT outage affected 8.5 million. Airlines, banks, casinos, package deliveries, and emergency services around the world are recovering today from what could be the largest tech outage in history. The root cause was not a foreign agent, but linked back to a software update issued by a US based cybersecurity firm called CrowdStrike. Now, all you IT people out there, I'm not an IT person, but could this have been avoided? It seems like there's a lack of quality assurance for them to manage and handle so many customers, and there's no QA behind it. You can't sue them. Companies can't sue and say, well, you owe me this money for loss of productivity. Should it have been tested out? Should they rolled it out to everybody at one time? Normally when you roll out something new, you may have that product rolling out and then something side by side. Or should they have been able to pull it back once it's rolled out and they knew something was going wrong with it? Shouldn't they have been able to pull it back? I don't know. I don't know. Perhaps software should be regulated. This really exposes us. I don't know. They talk about cybersecurity issues. This is a problem. The Democratic National Convention at Chicago's United Center is a month away, and I pray it goes all right. And the city's treasurer is joining the ranks of Democrats, urging President Joe Biden to step aside so President Kamala Harris can take over as a Democratic presidential nominee. Boy, was this written with some foresight. Chicago City Treasurer Melissa Conyers Irvin released a statement Sunday morning calling on Biden to end his reelection campaign and endorse Harris. The DNC, of course, is August 19th through 22nd in Chicago. In her statement, Irvin praised Biden, but she also said the president is no longer the best candidate to beat former President Donald Trump, who officially accepted the GOP presidential nomination during last week's RNC convention in Milwaukee. We're going to talk about this a little later. You know that. Now, have you ever heard of Laura Elizabeth Loomer?
No.
I haven't either. Just a nobody who wants attention, okay? I normally don't like to resort to calling people names, but I have to control myself on this one. She's an American political activist and internet personality. She was a Republican nominee to represent Florida's 21st congressional district in the 2020 United States House of Representative elections, losing to a Democrat, so she's bitter. Now, everyone knows because we're mourning the death of Sheila Jackson Lee. Everyone knows about that, and it's a shame. It's a loss. She had pancreatic cancer, and well, right after it happened, this Laura Loomer loser, she said, even on her deathbed, this ghetto bee couldn't keep President Trump's name out of her disgusting mouth. She continued to say, I'd say rest in peace, but we all know lying Democrats who have destroyed our country are going to hell. And she also said Sheila Jackson Lee will be remembered as a destructive force in America and one of the most low IQ members of Congress in the history of our nation. She's saying she's dumb, this idiot. Then she went on to say today she died. Instead of spending her final moments with her family, she was talking about Trump on Twitter and spewing more lies. Then she said she won't be missed, but I'm sure she will still be voting Democrat this November. Now, this heifer called her dumb, and Sheila Jackson Lee, my soror, of course, is a graduate of Yale College and the University of Virginia Law School and served for 30 years in Congress. That's dumb. She needs to try to get some attention somewhere else, and I'll just leave it right there.
Right.
Washington, this was hot off the press early this afternoon. President Joe Biden dropped out of the 2024 race for the White House on Sunday, ending his bid for re-election following a disastrous debate with Donald Trump that raised doubts about his fitness for office just 4 months before the election. The decision comes after escalating pressure from Biden's Democratic allies to step aside following that June 27th debate. Biden plans to serve out the remainder of his term in office, which ends at noon on January 20th, 2025. Biden went on to say, it has been the greatest honor of my life to serve as your president, and while it has been my intention to seek re-election, I believe it is in the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down and focus solely on fulfilling my duties as president for the remainder of my term. Biden, who remains at his Delaware Beach house after being diagnosed with COVID-19 last week. This was sad to me. I mean, I understand why he did it, and I would have done it.
Yeah.
I'm 81, and I'm getting ready to take the biggest job in the world, and I'm getting pressure from everywhere, and my constituents and my party are telling me that, I would say, wait, I could live my life out doing something else. I wouldn't
Right.
do it either.
Right. I wouldn't either. Donors backing out, all that good stuff.
Yeah. Oh, the donors. That's right. The
Hmm.
big donors.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I would have I'd have walked away. I would have walked away from that. It's just a shame. I saw Van on CNN, and he gave an emotional. Did you see that?
I hadn't seen it.
It was emotional. He said it's almost like when you have grandparents or parents, and they're getting of an age where they can't do the things that they used to could do.
Hmm.
And I think he made an analogy about taking the keys from them because they can't drive anymore,
Yeah.
and how painful that was. And I remember when my dad was in his 80s, and I used to go visit him, and he told me, he just said randomly, I'm gonna stop driving. I'm like, why?
Hmm.
Because he used to ride his bike. He was very vibrant. He said, because I almost hit a girl. I said, well, sometimes, when you're driving, kids come from your peripheral vision. He said, no, I've done it like 2 or 3 times. I'm giving my keys up.
Wow.
So that's a decision we never had to make.
Okay.
And just like Joe Biden, I mean, I don't know, when you look at old clips of him, like all of us, he's aged,
Right.
but I really hated how they treated him, because you don't see that same treatment in other parties when members of their party just stop speaking for 60 seconds a couple
Right.
times, but
Right.
you didn't hear anything like this.
Exactly.
So I really hate it. I'm kind of re-energized about the possibility, not knowing what's going to happen with Kamala Harris, but it's kind of re-energizing me because I know it threw them for a loop.
Right.
They put all their money and all their efforts against fighting Biden.
Exactly.
So now they don't know who they're going to go against. And when I saw the RNC, I did watch the RNC. I did watch the entire. My family talked about me so bad,
I'm
but
sorry.
I watched. Did you watch it? You didn't watch it?
No.
I watched the entire speech, and he was just he was babbling. Then he turned his head to the side. Then he go to that rhetoric that he always does, that campaign rhetoric.
Mhm.
So one of my friends, another one of my friends on social media, he said it was the worst ever convention speech. Trump gave the worst ever convention speech. Why is it that he can't talk in front of a camera without spazzing into empty word salad? Fevered ego stroking and paranoid rambling, all in the same breath. Word salad, riddled with fallacious assertions, tastes bad even with salad dressing. And I'm going to leave it right there.
Like
Now,
that.
I know I like, see, that's some of your wordsmithing, okay?
Oh, okay.
I got all these people who are, they're just, I call them wordsmiths, okay? So they just, now I'm going to talk about, the man of the hour. Everyone says I talk really fast. I'm going to try to go kind of slow because he has so much, and I want you to really digest it. Everyone has a story to tell that someone else needs to hear. It's how we as human beings connect, how we relate, how we communicate, and how we pass on wisdom and learn. One day, not too long ago, Kennery Kent Smith decided that it was time to tell his story. Not because he was either famous, smart, or influential. He's maybe about one half out of the three. But he decided to share his story in order to lend his voice to a growing chorus of voices which needs to be heard more often and more completely. The voices of the men in the world who consciously and constantly strive to be great men. Because those men are constantly being told that they need to be more communicative or that they need to be more open, especially when it comes to how they communicate with and connect with our women. Being a black man in America has overarching themes, common themes for most who identify and live their day to day as such. But being a black man in America is also a very personal and intimate state to define for each and every man according to his own lived experiences. It's bigger than how the world has tried to define it for them. But it's also simpler in its character and composition than those who could never take that journey may have ever imagined. It quite literally goes far beyond black and white distillation of it all. It is far more than the media appropriated narrative of sound bites and the generalized swipes at the essence of who black men are as black diasporic subculture, as a gender, and as everyday human beings. As a music industry veteran, yes, he's a musician too, of more than 25 years, Kennery Kent Smith is part of a rich tradition of world class Chicago bassist. His performance resume showcases the Chi-Town musical trademarks of extraordinary talent and a versatility to work in any musical genre. Kennery's experience includes performances with artists ranging from international neo soul recording artist Erica Badu to world renowned jazz vocal diva Dee Alexander. Kennery has provided low end grooves for acid jazz pioneers Liquid Soul, and he has laid down a funky groove or two behind world famous comedian Bernie Mac. He's also toured extensively throughout Europe, Italy, Germany, Switzerland, and Luxembourg with the inspirational voices of Sue Conway and the Victory Singers, and with Pierre Walker and Project Sanctified. Kennery has also performed locally with gospel legend Kim Stratton, Grammy winning recording artist Darius Brooks, gospel recording artist Phil Tarver. Kennery has worked in many other diverse musical settings, including performing music with the world renowned tap dance ensemble Mad Rhythms, touring nationally with Jackie Taylor's Black Ensemble Theater and with Chicago Free Street Theater, most notably at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. Most recently, Kennery appeared in and wrote and produced original music for the independent film The Rise and Fall of Miss Thing. And for 15 years, Kennery was co founder and bassist of Chicago's very own new jazz legends, Detour Jazz Funk, with whom he shares writing, arranging, and co production credits on their debut CD entitled Jazz Funk. Kennery can currently be seen and heard each week in the role of first chair bassist on the syndicated weekly Sunday morning broadcast of Victory Apostolic Church in Matson, Illinois, as part of their extraordinary music ministry. Kennery's first published foray into his written expression of creativity came in the form of being a contributing author in the Amazon #1 bestseller book, Lessons for the Little Boy. In it, he explores his personal journey to manhood along with 12 other men and the personal insights of the book's creator and co author, Jamie A. Gill. Prose is just another one of the many avenues Kennery takes to share his creative mind and spirit with the rest of the world, whether they like it or not. And it truly provides him with yet another path to continued self discovery. Kennery's latest project of self expressive rambling is what you now hold in your hands. I said what I said. It's a book of musing, remembrances, and messages for the masses to be consumed, digested, and if your taste buds and stomach disagree with how it goes down your gullet, regurgitate it. His hope and prayers is that you enjoy the words and stories that he has chosen to share with you for better or worse. Whether Kennery is writing music, lyrics, poetry, or prose, the heart and mind of this creative will always speak its truth in the most authentic, unique, and unapologetic manner. Because for Kennery, creativity through art is all about communication. It's all about expression, and it's all about sharing himself with the world in an attempt to answer the unlikely asked question: who is Kennery Kent Smith? And via his humble contributions to Lessons for the Little Boy, and now through the literary equivalent of a full Monty of his mind in I Said What I Said, Kennery gives you, the reader, a tiny peek into the process of answering that question. Help me welcome to Intellectual Voices of Change, Kennery Kent Smith.
Thank you,
Wow.
Janice.
That was-
I could have sent you the short version.
No. I like reading the long version. That's what, because you know what I like doing? I love bragging on people. And you got so much, you probably didn't even include everything here, but you have so much that we wanted to add that.
Thank you.
So this book, this is, I heard about the book. I saw the book on Amazon, and I thought it would be, like a small book. This book is like 400 pages.
You have seen my posts, right?
I know. I should have known. This is like okay, so tell me and the listening audience, tell us something about them. Just tell us, and I know this is hard. I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
No, that's all right.
But tell us something about the book.
Well, it's basically what it said in the bio. Yep, that's me. Just me sharing my life, my experiences, my thoughts, and some of my rants
What's
about
unique
life.
about your life, or what do you think is unique about your life?
Well, oddly enough, I think it's not so much unique as a whole because there were a lot of little black boys who grew up in Robert Taylor homes in the 70s and the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
A lots of kids who got caught up into music and were looking for ways out, whether it was music, sports, or other things. I think for me, the uniqueness may come into play is that for some reason I was kind of aware what was going on. I was living my childhood, but I was the kid. My mother told me I used to sit in rooms and just watch people. I was a quiet kid and I would just watch people and not being creepy or anything, but I was just paying attention. And so I think I was subconsciously um, learning about the world that was around me.
When you say a kid, how old were you? 7, 8,
Oh
10?
no, I'm talking about I was doing this when I was like 3 or 4.
Oh my.
Yeah. So I was that quiet little kid in the corner. I can count on one hand the spankings I got.
Did you go to public schools?
Yeah, I went to Zenos Coleman Elementary
Mhm.
School. Yeah,
And what about high school?
High Park Career Academy. Go Indians.
Hyde Park.
Yep.
Okay. So okay,
hmm
good. So you were one of these little kids that watched everything. So as you grew into adolescence and teenage years, were you still a watcher and quiet? Were you shy?
Shy, maybe yes, in the beginning when I was younger. Oddly enough, music is kind of what helped me get out of the shyness. I think the first time I was on the stage, I was in 7th grade. It was a talent show.
And were you playing the bass then?
I wasn't playing the bass. I was miming, singing a song. Shh, shh.
Do you sing? A lot of
No,
basses do sing.
I do not.
Have you tried?
Yes. I like to keep my jobs, so I don't sing though.
Okay, because a mutual friend of ours, matter of fact, he hit me up and he said, "How do you know Kennery?" G-Body, okay.
Yeah. Oh
And,
yeah.
and I'm thinking, what do you mean? So he sings on one of his CDs. He actually he laid some vocal tracks on there.
That's a bad
And you
publicist.
have a nice speaking. You ever done radio or something?
I had tried to get into radio, but obviously not too hard. So I didn't. Music was taking over so much in my life. I didn't really get a chance to get into radio, but I wanted to at one point.
Yeah, a lot of people that love music, vocalists or play an instrument, they love radio too. So it kind of goes hand in hand. But you have a really nice speaking voice,
Thank
the
you.
texture. So that's why I thought maybe you were a
Thank you.
singer.
They need somebody here.
Wait now. I can definitely plug that for someone like you who you're a philosopher, you're kind of a podcaster, you have an opinion on everything. I'm waiting for that to come out today. You have an opinion on things. This will be, a great platform for you. And I'm sure they have shows open. I can ask that young man, the other Winfrey, the little mean looking man over there. He's the owner of the station. And I am sure that they have slots open for you and you'd be an asset to Intellectual Radio. So
It's something that I have been seriously considering.
well, you should consider it.
Okay.
You should consider it. You would be good. You have a great voice for it.
Thank you.
Was music your first love as far as, because I know you're a writer too?
Actually, no. Art
No?
was my first love.
Like drawing?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I was going to be first, probably wasn't going to be the first, but I was going to be a artist for Marvel Comics. That was my thing.
Ah, Marvel. Yeah, I can see
I
that.
loved. About 11 or 12, I got into comic books,
Mhm.
and then I started drawing my own. I was like, yeah, I can do this. So that was my goal.
Are you good?
I used to be.
Hmm.
Used to be so good. Well, good enough to get a summer scholarship at the Art Institute.
Really?
Yeah.
And you just didn't pursue it. You didn't want to.
Music started. Yeah, it started coinciding. Music, this is like between the ages of 10 and 12, and they started kind of coinciding. Music won out because art was great. I could draw stuff and girls like the art, but being on stage, girls really like that.
So you like that? You
I
like
was
that
like,
attention?
yeah, because I was the quiet kid.
Of course. You like the attention. So how'd you start playing the bass then?
Okay, so actually, back then, every neighborhood had bands,
Yeah.
several bands. So I would listen to them and watch them play. And my brother, my older brother, who is no longer with us, Joseph Smith, he decided he wanted to get a bass. So he begged my mom, and she got him a bass. And he messed around with it and played it and was in a band for a minute, but he didn't really take it seriously. So whenever he wasn't around, because he wouldn't let me touch it when he was at home, I would sneak and try to play it.
But did you self-teach? No?
Yeah.
You did?
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever take lessons?
I've taken a few lessons, but most of the formal music that I had was in high school. I was in orchestra, so I learned how to read and music and play double bass.
That's amazing, particularly with you being one of the premier bassists in the city.
Oh, well.
No, I mean, okay, we talked about you playing with all these people. So as a bassist, playing with all these people, going to Europe, going to all these countries, did you feel like you arrived? You finally arrived. I'm now this musical star?
No, I never wanted to be a star. I because of my personality, I like doing behind the scenes. I like making things.
Yeah,
work.
I get that.
Yeah, so
I get that.
And bassists in general are the people who hold the band down. It's the foundation of the band, so it kind of fit me perfectly. And so I didn't, I never wanted to be a star, a rock star. I just don't have that personality for being out front. But I did enjoy every part of traveling and doing music. It wasn't a rival thing. It was more of a, this is great.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I like being in the background, not necessarily being up front so people don't know me, but I'd like to get the money. And then when people don't know me, you know what I mean?
Right, exactly.
So you don't want people to know that you got the money. So I can relate to that. I love that you played with theater companies and are well-rooted, expressing your talent at Victory Apostolic Church.
Yes.
Is there any place that you feel most comfortable? Is it the church environment, a gig, a stage, or do you feel comfortable everywhere?
I was going to say yes.
Everywhere.
Everywhere, because it's all music. It's all communication. It's all making people feel certain things, whether you're trying to connect them with the spirit or whether you're trying to help them feel better after a hard day of work. Music is just a salve for everybody. It's a universal language. So I enjoy bringing that to people.
Okay, that makes sense. Now that you've added author to your impressive resume, how did it feel when you check Amazon and you see all these sales? I mean, I'm just wondering, how does that feel,
Well, so writing a book has been in my spirit for a long time.
How long did it take you to write it?
It took me about 3 years total.
I guess so, 400 pages. But okay.
No, it took a long time because I was also being a caregiver to my mom at the time. So
I remember that.
Yeah. So
you were writing your book then?
Because that was kind of
is that part of your book?
An escape. There's talk about there in a couple of segments of the chapter. Yeah, but my mom passed on March 11th. And so it was a long journey of caregiving. So it's pretty much being around all the time and having to be available. So when you steal those moments where you do have time to yourself, you do things that you enjoy. And one of the things that I learned that I really enjoyed and kind of got good at was writing. So
I can relate to that too. I was a caregiver for both parents. They were in the house and it was, yeah, I can relate to that too.
Yeah.
So writing this book, okay, so you spend 3 years, you write the book is out. How are the sales doing?
I think they're doing okay.
You're modest anyway. I don't blame you. I'd be too. I would too.
I think they're, it's with Amazon and book sales and stuff, it's up and down every day. I mean, I have a lot of support
Mm-hmm.
from family and friends who are spreading the word and who are buying the book, and there's a lot of people online who on social media who are also buying it. So it's going pretty good. I'm not, I did the book. Obviously, authors don't write books to make money.
They don't?
Oh God, no. I mean, unless you get a New York Times bestseller, something that it's hard to actually make a living. The average author makes probably about $20,000 a year off of writing a book, and that's if you really get broad exposure. If you've got a topic or a style of book that lots of people read.
Mm-hmm.
An autobiographical kind of memoir is really only, if you're Michelle Obama, yeah, you're going to sell lots of books.
Okay, yeah.
But, there are a lot of people who, like I said in my bio, everybody's got a story to tell. And you never know what you have to say, how it will connect to somebody and help somebody. So I really wrote the book because I had to get my voice out there and say what I needed to say, and hopefully somebody will connect to it. And if it sells, great, wonderful. If it doesn't, that's fine too.
Okay, so you've already done a lot of theater as far as playing with theater. Have you ever thought maybe this book could segue into a theatrical production or a film? Is it a book? I'm just asking.
Well, it's a memoir. I don't know if I want to see me on,
you don't want to see
on the screen.
Okay. You don't want to see the adaptation.
Yeah, I don't know what that would look like.
I don't know. I think I can probably. Okay. I cannot wait to read. Even though I was gifted with this, folks, I'm going to still go and pay I think it's $25.
Yes.
Yeah. See, I've already checked it out. I just knew I couldn't get it before and read it before this show.
Right.
I really wanted to. So that's why I'm leaning on you so much.
That's
tell me more about the book. I can understand from your bio, and I understand the value it has for men.
So, yeah.
But what about women?
Well, it's insight into the mind of men who are, a lot of us don't know how to express ourselves because that's not the thing that we've been taught coming up. Men are supposed to be strong, and just do what we need to do. I have a friend who says that men are only valued for what we have and what we can do.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is that generally how some of them feel? A lot of them feel like that?
Yeah, because it's, the emphasis is on, of course, most good men want to be providers. It's kind of an innate thing in us. But we also want to be appreciated for being the person that we are. We want people to appreciate our character, our other valued assets, besides what we bring to the table, which you hear all the time. A lot of talk has been recently of high value man and things like that. Yes.
So, Kevin Samuels, I still listen to him. After he's been gone, what, a year, 2 years?
Yeah. He was rough, but he had a lot of things that were relevant that he said. And so it's one of those things where I'm not gonna be Kevin Samuels because I was hoping really that rough. No,
I wouldn't mind a little sparring though. No, but
right, but you can't really get people to hear you if you're
true.
beating them up all the time, and that's not what I want to do. I want to communicate. I want to have dialogue and conversation, and so a lot of what I say in the book is just really from my point of view, and from what the conversations I've had with other friends, male friends, what men want women to know about us.
Really?
Yeah.
So it is something for women there.
In
the book, it talks about what, and I know you don't want to give the book away, but can you give us a few little suggestions or hints?
Well, let's see. I mean, I talk about relationships. I talk about relationships. I talk about what I personally always looked for.
Hi, Jamie Gill. Sorry.
Hey, Jamie. Hey, Jamie. That's my sister. Yeah, I mean, there's conversation about relationships. It's conversation about uh, how we feel as men when we're only valued for one or two things, and there's a lot of conversation also going around now about, well, why aren't men committing to women? That's kind of the
That's a big one.
prevailing
That's a
thing.
big one. That's a
Yeah,
big one.
yeah, and I can't speak for all men because just like with men, women and men, there are bad seeds on both sides of it.
Right. And we're not
And
monolithic. I mean,
right,
we're different,
right,
so yeah.
right. But a lot of the reason why some men are not committing, it's not that they don't want the commitment. They're afraid. They don't want to be just that provider and used. They want something more substantial, and they want to be seen and valued, not in a you know like we're crying in the corner or anything. It's like I'm not
Right.
seeing, but it's before we're men, we're human beings, and human beings need support. We need caring and feeding. We need all the same things that women do, maybe to different degrees. But it's no one wants to put themselves out there and give it all they've got, and then be tossed away because if their value changes or circumstance changes, and you know a lot of that happens.
Do you think this is, I don't know, generational or relatively new phenomenon? Or do you
Nope.
think men felt like this 50 years ago, 100 years ago? Men felt like all they were doing was providing the bag or providing, I don't know, a roof over their head. And the women just kind of looked at them as, someone who's taking care of me instead of a partner who, uh, is this something new?
I think the equation has changed. I mean, life is much more complex now than it was then. I mean, it was basically there weren't a lot of choices except for going out, making the money, providing for the family, and a lot of men would go out, drink with their buddies, and then
Mhm.
the day starts over again. And so there wasn't a lot of time for introspection, and you just did what you needed to do. So, but with the way the world is now, and more information being coming available to everyone, and more freedom to express uh, ourselves as human beings, I think a lot of men are beginning to understand that they're more than just, you know, being able to work and provide doesn't define you completely as it did, 50 years ago.
Hmm.
And also because of the fact that women are able to now do for yourselves. I mean, it's not the same thing, and looking for doing that. I mean, it was only I was just reading recently, it was only 1974 when women were able to apply for credit
That's true.
without a male
That's
signature.
true. They'd have to have a
That's
male signature.
crazy.
That is,
That's
yeah,
insane.
that is.
But yeah, things have changed in the last 50 years. And so the roles, and you guys' roles have changed. You don't have to be a housewife, or you don't have to depend on the man to get you credit. And so subsequently, our roles have changed, but a lot of people are not letting them change. You know what I mean?
That's interesting. That's interesting, but what's really interesting, and I just want to give a shout out to all my sisters. It sounds like this book has some nuggets for us too.
Absolutely.
But I just think, I think it's really interesting. Hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
So men feel like, because women always complain, they don't want to commit, they don't want to get married, they don't want to do this, they don't want to do that, they want to, and you're saying that part of it may be fear.
fear may be a strong word.
Okay, maybe
It's
not fear.
Yeah, it may be more of a desire for something more than just being the guy that's bringing the bag. Because especially the last 10 years, where the emphasis has been so much on, again, going back to that high value male and blah 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 blah, and that's no guarantee. of anything. You see it all the time. You see rich people getting divorced all
All
the
the time.
time. So
Yes.
that doesn't mean anything. Now, if that's all that a woman wants from a man and they come to that mutual agreement, great. If that's the relationship that you want to have, then fine. But I think a lot of people don't understand. Like, in this industry, doing what I do, I meet a lot of what women consider high value men, or I work with, or you know, two things that they have to understand. One is there's a certain personality type that makes them driven to be high value men, and it does not always play well with I want a romantic guy. It's a, what they call an alpha male. I hate those labels, but there you go. But it's so if you can deal with not having his man around all the time because he's working, he's trying to make that money all the time. He's driven to do more and better. And most men are, but when it becomes a certain level, when it's 6 figures and 7 figures, it's a whole different animal. The second part of that is these men have choices.
Yep.
They have
That's what
choices.
Kevin Samuels talked about, the
Yeah.
choices. Yeah.
They have choices, and so it's
Oh, you're trying to be nice when you say, no, you don't have to take that breath to be nice.
No, I'm saying that they have choices and options, and oftentimes they take them because they have them.
They have choices and options, and
Yes.
that's why they just do everything.
Yes.
When I was younger, when I was dating what they would consider high value men, I dated a few of them, but most of them, not all of them, but most of them I found they were arrogant. And they thought their whole attitude was almost like, you should be happy to be with me. They had a different mindset. I didn't mind the driven part. I didn't mind the part they were never there because I was driven in my own way too. But
Right.
I thought their attitude was so full of themselves.
Well,
in my opinion, I'm not talking about everybody, but
no, but that's part of the equation of who they have to be to a degree in order to survive.
I know, but not in the relationship. I'm talking about in the relationship. I'm not talking about in the world.
Sometimes you don't know how to turn that off. A lot of people don't know how to walk in the door. Let's say, for instance, you're, I don't know, law enforcement.
Okay.
That's a stressful, crazy
Oh
job.
yeah,
Especially if you're on the beat on the streets. It's hard, I'm sure, to shut that, that instinct down when you get home and to be a different person. Some people obviously do it just fine, but it takes a toll.
It becomes part of your character, probably.
Yeah. Or it's part of your character, and that's what makes you good at the job.
True, and that's why you're advancing so quickly. True, but I kind of think generally, and I'm not saying this because I'm a female, but I think women have a bad rap. I do.
Okay, tell me about that.
Yeah, because I think that generally men think that all we're thinking about is a provider or someone or what they can do for us or whatever, instead of treating them like a person and being a partner and walking through this thing called life. I think a lot of women just want someone who they could be with, who they can share the life with. And a lot of them, I find the younger ones, they are looking for the money. I mean, as Kevin Samuels would say, and I'm gonna stop talking about him. When you're younger, you have more juice, obviously. When you're 25 and gorgeous and everything is right,
right,
you become one of those options. But I think generally, yeah, you have some women like that. A lot of them, maybe 30%, 40%, but a lot of them aren't. The problem is, I don't know, particularly in this day and age, where do men and women meet?
And that's what I was going to say.
We're
missing each other.
Yeah.
And because in the midst of being driven and doing our careers, and some people have children to take care of and all that stuff, and the repeat rents of life. You go out to a bar I'm not sure who you expect to meet at a bar. I mean, there may well be. I've been in a bar, and I consider myself a nice guy. So it may be a nice guy at the bar, or maybe a nice woman at the bar. If she's an attractive woman, sometimes men are like, "Oh, she must be taken. She's got to be."
Yeah, what's she doing here? Yeah.
Right, and men are. It's hard for us. We're simple creatures, but it's also hard for us sometimes to read the room.
Yeah.
So we might not know that somebody is available and or interested. So people but it's one of the things I say in the book though is we don't we don't take hints very well all the time. So if you are a woman and you have an interest in a man and you've checked him out and you know that he's okay, and you want to get to know him, let us know because we don't always know.
But women are that may be the problem then, because if you don't take hints well, and if women aren't going to be as aggressive to say, I'd really like to get to know you, you know what I mean?
I know it's scary.
So
it's scary because it's the fear of rejection. I mean, we have to deal with it all the time.
That's what everyone says. That's
right.
what they say. Men always deal with rejection.
Right, but we're more or less we're built for it, except for the guys that don't take no for an answer. Those brothers are something else. But most of us can accept a no and just move on. But it's not, you don't have to say, hey baby, I'm interested in you. As a woman, you just kind of have to, what you guys think are hints sometimes are not hints. That's what I'm saying. It's like, you think you're going, and we're like,
what's wrong with us?
Right. We and that could be us being slow on uptake, or it could be that you all are not used to being not. I don't want to say the aggressor because that's not what we're looking for. We're not looking for some woman to, like the Eddie Murphy scene. I want to tear you apart. We're just looking to know that you actually are available, I guess.
Yeah, there's definitely a disconnect. It seems like, and I'm going way back in the day. Yeah, people went to bars or clubs, like I don't know, the Cotton Club or George's or a club. Okay, I'm dating myself, but
right.
But then it felt different. Now you wouldn't want to go in one of those places.
I mean, you would ask somebody to dance, and you
Right,
might
and
ask somebody to buy them a drink.
And if they buy me 2 drinks, and I said, well, let me buy him a drink because I don't want him to think here to drink all this. You know what I mean? So it was fun though. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it was different. A lot of society is different, and it's made it harder for us to connect. So and it's unfortunately there's more weirdness out there. So everybody has to be careful.
There is.
Everybody has to be careful.
Yes, there is.
We especially want you sisters to be careful.
There is weirdness. You're right. You're right. So your book talks about your book talks about you. Your book talks about relationships, some of the things that impacted your life. Does it talk about music at all?
It talks about music a little bit in the sense of like there's a section, a chapter that I talk about how music basically saved my life. So
you think it did?
Oh, I know it did. Absolutely. I mean, and that's not rhetoric. That's literally saved my life. But you have to read the book to find out how.
Oh yeah, he can't give everything away. You're going to have to read the book. Speaking of the book, where do you get the book at?
You can get it right now. It's available on Amazon.com. It's available as Kindle and as the hardcover. Well, it's paperback. 400
pages.
It is,
but I'm sure it is
366.
Okay, I rounded up.
Yeah. But it's a book of memories about my life and about, like I said, relationships, caregiving. There's poetry.
You write poetry too?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. That's going to be good then.
Yeah.
What would someone, well, you can't give that away either.
What?
You said that they're going to kind of learn a little bit more about you. What kind of things will they learn about you?
I guess mostly the things that have made me me. Life experiences, how I process the world, how I move through the world, how I try to connect with other people. You know, a little bit about how I love. Things like that.
This is gonna be good. So I'm suggesting men and women. Now, men, you know obviously what you can get out of it, but women, there's a lot of nuggets in there for us too. And I think
Lots
that
of nuggets.
lots of them. So I think it. Now you can get it. I really hate they don't have any more bookstores. You remember back in the day, you can go to the
Actually,
bookstore.
one of those
They do have
bookstores
a
are
bookstore.
starting to reopen. I think it's Barnes and Nobles.
Really?
Yeah, I heard.
They used to have a huge one on the west side. Well, it was in Oak Park.
There are a lot of small, independent, and black-owned bookstores that you can look up, and that actually carry physical books. I don't have my book in them yet, but that is the plan.
I didn't know.
Yeah,
That's good to know. I'm
absolutely.
gonna have to look that up so I can kind of announce them because
Mhm.
I used to love reading. So, and I hope people still do read.
Yeah.
So, tell us how they can get in touch with you. Do you ever do like, high schools always want speakers to talk about this and talk about that. Do you ever do stuff like that? Public speaking at
I
all?
have not, but it is also another area that I wanted to get
I could
into.
see you doing something like that. That's why I'm,
Okay.
doing something like that. How do people get in touch with you?
Well, of course, Facebook is where I live, basically. So you can find me, Kenry Kent Smith, on Facebook. You can also find me at my website, which is my company, K2S Productions.
Your company?
Yes,
What is it?
K2SProductions.com.
And what kind of a company is that?
So it's basically kind of um, a place where all my interests come together.
Oh,
You
okay.
can find out about my musical performances. You can find out about any
Oh, okay.
prose writing that I'm doing. You can find out a few things. So I try to keep it up to date. I'm trying to keep up. And yeah, those are the two places. I'm on Instagram also, and I'm actually on LinkedIn too. So if somebody wants to hire,
And you play for vocalists too. Like, just say if
yes,
there was a vocalist that wanted to do something and I need a bass player, I need this, I need that. You do gig work like
absolutely,
that too.
absolutely. The
Good to
main
know.
person I'm working with these days is a young lady named Simone Green.
I know.
Yeah.
I hear about it all the time. Have you worked with what do they call her? I know her real name. Miss Taibe?
Oh yes, Miss Tiabe. Yes.
Oh, Tiabe. Okay.
Actually, very good friend of mine.
Okay.
Mhm.
Wonderful. Yeah, I've been knowing her for a while. We went to the same church.
Yeah.
And it looks like it's just about our time. And I hear the music playing. And that's once again a friend of Intellectual Radio, just recently passed, Dante Hall. And we're wrapping up. We'll be here. Not sure about next week. I'm going out of town to see Kirk Whalum.
Oh,
So-
say hello.
So probably the week after. But I want everyone to have a good evening and a better week. Take care. Don't forget to vote.
Yes.
I do believe that something